The struggle is real for Disney, as the newest Indiana Jones film failed to entice audiences into theaters. But the real meat of the story is something much more interesting.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
Since its debut at the James Caan Film Festival, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny has been a contentious topic of debate. The film, which starred an 80-year-old Harrison Ford, an overrated Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and sported a budget that would make James Cameron blush, failed to deliver this weekend, and that's not a surprise. But it is, since new information confirms something we didn't know about. But before we get into that, today's video is brought to you by us here at shopwcbs.com. It's summertime, it's getting hotter, but you have to wear something out in public, so why not wear something with style and class? World class, that is. So go to shopwcbs.com and get yourself an official WCBS t-shirt. There are dozens of choices designed by me, and all of our shirts are shipped and printed through Teespring, so you get their customer service, support, as well as the high quality each of their t-shirt carries. So go to shopwcbs.com right now to grab one of those, and since it's summer and it's so damn hot out, you might want something cool to drink. So why not drink that cool beverage out of an official WCBS pint glass? When you do, you'll become the fifth bullshitter. You can crack a cold one with us and spend your summer watching all the new world-class bullshitters content coming your way, including the return of good morning pop culture. So folks, you can click on those links below, get yourself an official WCBS piece of glassware, wear the t-shirt, and hang out with us all summer long. And now, back to the video. The Dial of Destiny didn't deliver, and some insiders are spilling the beans about some of the behind-the-scenes element no one knew about, and it's surprising just how bad Disney messed this up. Even though Disney Lucasfilm's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is looking to hit the bottom rung of its tracking projections of $60 million, there's no question that it is a disastrous result for the finale of a historically beloved franchise film. Indiana Jones is one of the reasons why Disney shelled out $4 billion for Lucasfilm. Now, in terms of the box office, here are a few things to stomach. Not only did Star Wars bomb, Solo opened higher than the Dial of Destiny with $84.4 million, but so did Paramount's seventh Transformers film, Rise of the Beasts. How could Disney and Lucasfilm mess this up? Yesterday, it was learned from a key source that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, before the $100 million estimated P&A, cost a mind-boggling $300 million plus, much higher than the $250 to $295 million that's been leaked out there. Disney doesn't comment on budgets, but the high price tag here is due to the start and stop production during COVID. Harrison Ford's $20 million fee, which I'm told director James Mangold got a pretty penny, was Steven Spielberg's fee as well. That said, it stands to reason that Disney would invest greatly here to revive the franchise. They spent $259 million on The Force Awakens. The point is, for what the studio spent, they're not getting anywhere near the Star Wars box office results. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny has been destined to live in the temple of box office doom since world premiering at the Cannes Film Festival to lackluster reviews. This resulted in landing like a wet towel on tracking 3 weeks ago, with projections not budging. This, despite the fact that the Dial of Destiny had a marketing and publicity goal campaign louder than The Flash, with a cast doing several interviews and $90 million in promotional partners. It's baffling that a storied franchise could end on a downer note at the box office in its finale. So what the hell went wrong here with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? Lucasfilm is so precious and so fastidious when it comes to developing Star Wars properties, and the legend with Indiana Jones is that these movies could never be made unless George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, and Harrison Ford saw eye to eye on the script. The biggest problem with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is that there were no efforts to cast it up to make it appealing to the under 40-year-old crowd, like Paramount did with Top Gun Maverick. The Dial of Destiny was conceived for the hardcore indie fans, which are people over 50. According to a few insiders, this movie did not have behind-the-scenes calamity melodrama such as Rogue One, or Solo: A Star Wars Story, that required major surgery during production. No melodrama meaning everyone got along. Yet yesterday it leaked that several editors were brought in to get this movie right. To date, Indy co-franchise architect George Lucas had remained silent about his thoughts on the Dial of Destiny. In terms of the test screening inflated scores, while Disney typically uses a friends and family testing system so that no spoilers leak in advance, it's now told that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny never tested. Take what you will from that. Still, it's not so like Disney to stick their head out on a chopping block by launching so-so movies on a global stage when they're not ready. The studio plots the marketing campaigns for their tentpoles like D-Day. Both Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and Elemental's planned tentpole commercial potential went out the window the minute Disney took them to Cannes. We've been saying since the trailer was released that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny would fail to deliver because the last film, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, was damaging to the brand. Money cannot take away 15 years of apathy. An entire generation of filmgoers don't know Indiana Jones. Why would they rush out to see this movie? Interestingly enough, IGN is trying to spin this whole thing into a positive. Silly IGN. Too much water? The decision to bring Phoebe Waller-Bridge into the picture did not help. She's popular with a certain demographic, a demographic Lucasfilm has been bending over backwards to cater to for years. The results have not been very positive. Instead of her, imagine bringing back Short Round. That movie would have brought out more people than Old Poob. Instead, Lucasfilm hired the woman who was part of Solo: A Star Wars Story, the least successful film in the saga. The person behind all of this is Kathleen Kennedy. People don't like what she's done to Star Wars, and now Indiana Jones. The trend of deconstructing the heroes of the past does not continue a brand's life. It only shortens it. In 2015, she discussed the desire to make Star Wars appeal to more women. What has followed has been a mean-spirited feminist slant to every Lucasfilm picture out there. The female characters don't face adversity, they coast by. The characters lack depth, humor, charm, or heart. Audiences do not connect with them, and Lucasfilm refuses to listen. The fans are labeled as abhorrent things, and social media casts their opinions aside. Yet, these are the people who would spend the much-needed money to make these projects successful. Kathleen Kennedy has been the topic of conversation all weekend long, as more and more rumors about her departure are spreading. For what feels like an eternity, but more likely the last 5 years, news and rumors about her departure from Lucasfilm keep popping up. None have been credible, yet the amount that has come out since the Dial of Destiny is staggering. The latest rumor comes from Twitter scooper ThwipT, who wrote, "I'm hearing Kathleen Kennedy is now gone from Lucasfilm." The scooper has been right about a few things in the past, including Nicolas Cage appearing as Superman in The Flash and a Harry Potter TV series. Following the rumor, that Park Place investigative journalist Jonas J. Campbell relayed on the WDW Pro that sources informed him that the word from Burbank is that it was a very late night there. There are two factions forming that are fighting over this exact issue, whether it was the marketing or the quality of the film. WDW Pro then posited, "It is our understanding, based on the source and other sources, that we have an Alan Bergman camp. They are no fan of Lucasfilm as it's currently constituted. The Bergman camp is not a fan of Kathleen Kennedy and is pushing potentially for Kathleen Kennedy to leave, and leave soon." He continued, "We believe that Dana Walden is potentially in favor of Kathleen Kennedy staying, and in favor of this marketing be damned kind of approach, whether they say it was the commercials, it was the trailers. They did not do a good enough job explaining what the film was." How the hell are the commercials to blame? They gave you everything you need to know. Indy is back, he's young in parts, he's old in others, he's got a female sidekick. It's not the advertisements that were bad. The product they were promoting was bad. I did not give it a favorable review on my podcast, World Class Bullshitters, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the film enough to give it a proper review. As I've been saying for months, the most interesting part of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was the narrative around how it was expected to fail, and alas, it did. The franchise is over, Harrison Ford is done, and hopefully someone can stop the bleeding at Lucasfilm. These franchise killers make the people less inclined to spend money on merchandise, pay for streaming, and buy the home video. These movies will effectively dry up all the potential revenue, which is what happened with Star Wars as well. Will Kathleen Kennedy go? Eventually. Will it be too late? Most definitely. Personally, I'd love to know what George Lucas thinks about all of this. He's probably laughing at just how bad things are going at Lucasfilm. Who is to blame? Is it Kathleen Kennedy? I don't disagree with that one at all. Believe me, we've been talking about this for years, how Kathleen Kennedy's ideals that leaked their way into Star Wars have not been good at all. They're trash, actually. They've ruined the brand to the point where people are more interested in talking about it failing or hoping it never comes out. And that's new to Star Wars. Star Wars had a huge rabid fan base for decades, and now people are just over it. Same thing with Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones and Star Wars have always been lumped together as these two Lucasfilm properties. In the 90s, you'd get the Lucasfilm PC books that would have the new games from both of these, as well as Full Throttle. And Indiana Jones has suffered the same fate because the same formula was used. The deconstructed old man hero. How come heroes never have a good, happy life? How come they have to be going through some dour experience? It's like, all right, Indiana Jones is old. He's hated at his job. He's divorced. His kid's dead. Why? Why can't Indiana Jones be a successful scientist? Why can't he be happily married? Why can't he yearn for adventure and go out one more time, and maybe his body is the reason why he can't do it at that level? Like, why not something like that where the character actually is happy? People want to watch happy characters do awesome things. And I'm not saying Indiana Jones needs to be grinning from ear to ear, but he could at least, be competent, be there, not be so depressed, not be so downtrodden. Same thing with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. They didn't look like they were having fun. They looked like they were collecting a check. And well, we can tell that. The audience knows. And so, speaking of checks, people are not going to be collecting checks for this movie much longer. I mean, the merchandise has already been altered to the point where they're probably going to cancel the upcoming stuff because there's no demand for Indiana Jones. The fan base is a lot smaller than Lucasfilm realized. And that's what happens when you rely on the past successes. That's all Lucasfilm did. That's what Disney did when they bought up all these brands and IPs. The only one that they bought with a future was Marvel. Oh, Marvel, we can do a lot with that. And they did. Lots and lots of money came from Marvel. But Lucasfilm, not so much. Failures, flops, disappointing box office, hated films, that's the story around Lucasfilm under Disney. It would be interesting if Lucasfilm was eventually sold, but that's a story for another day, which we did its own video on. But Disney once owned the Power Rangers. They bought it up for billions of dollars, and then it was sold off for $60 million. Will that ever happen with Lucasfilm? There's always a possibility. But for right now, let's talk about the actual situation that's going on. Kathleen Kennedy could be getting fired. Again, this has been talked about like every day for the last 5 years, so take that with a grain of salt the size of that planet that's definitely not Hoth. And there you have basically what people really want. They want Kathleen Kennedy gone. But will that fix enough? Aren't these stupid ideals in entertainment across the board in Hollywood? What's saying that someone else isn't going to come in and, make it just as bad? I want her gone as much as the next person, but realistically, the damage has been done. If she's gone tomorrow, the High Republic still exists. If she's gone tomorrow, The Force Awakens and that trilogy still exists. And if she's gone tomorrow or even today, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny exists. Her tenure there has been an abject failure. You can look up the information on the numbers, how much money these movies have made, how much they've cost. And Indiana Jones, well, that's a damn expensive film. It's more expensive than we even thought beforehand. We thought $295 million was a lot of money. Where does it all go? Definitely not on screen. I mean, the CGI in parts looked okay, but overall, it looked fake. It felt like a video game. It felt hollow. Indiana Jones used to have a lot of spirit and soul, but not anymore. Well, that's just the sad reality of the situation. So folks, thank you for watching. I'll be back next time with more. Enjoy your 4th of July holiday, and I'll be back after that with more content from world-class bullshitters. But in the meantime, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.
Thanks for watching today's video. Yes, it's over, but don't cry because there's more, a lot more from world-class bullshitters. And there's only one way to get it. Hit that subscribe button below. When you do that, you'll get notifications and updates from world-class bullshitters every time we go live. Basically, you won't miss anything. And if there's one thing I hate, it's FOMO. But the thing most people hate more than FOMO is fear of missing out on world-class bullshitters, because there's just some things you can't undo. So folks, do yourselves a favor and never miss anything from world-class bullshitters. One last thing before you go, hit the thumbs up button. Not for our egos, no, they're big enough as this, but it does help us fight the algorithm here, and well, it's man versus machine, and that's the real fight. But if that's not your battle, that's okay. There's one last way you can help WCBS, and that's going over to shopwcbs.com, picking up a t-shirt, a beer glass, a sweatshirt, a poster, all sorts of ways to back WCBS. The difference between us and other YouTube channels is I'm the artist that makes all this stuff, so if you enjoy art beyond t-shirts, you can even read our comic books. We got it all. We're called the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and no, again, it's not for our egos. So folks, make sure you're involved with every aspect of world-class bullshitters, not just for us, but do it for yourself. We're making the change in entertainment everybody out there wants to see. And a special thank you goes out to all of our wonderful patrons who make this content possible. Go to patreon.com/worldclassbs to get involved and help out the channel.